Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk, joined by Matthew Citak today, taking your calls at 201-939-4513, right here in the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Is this even the home stretch? I think we're past the stretch, the final turn. How would you like to describe
the final countdown?
Yeah, we can. There's no final countdown. Yeah, I mean, NFL Network and ESPN both have their draft countdown on there, so I guess final countdown works. Just about 30 hours away from the start of the 2026 NFL draft, and now we're starting to see some of these final mock drafts come out from the guys that usually have pretty good intel in terms of what might happen. Today we had Peter Schrager's final mock land. We talked about Mel Kiper's final mock last week. And you had Todd McShay's. Well, he kind of said maybe not final mock, but one of his final mocks hitting today as well. And look, we're going to get to your calls. The phone's already off talk, so I want to get as many calls as we can today at 201-939-4513. But the amazing thing to me is that when you look at all these mocks, not just who they have the Giants picking, but who they would consider picking, Matt, right now, people start talking about, could be Jeremiah Love. If Arvo Reese drops there, like he did in Schrager's mock draft, it could be him. Could be Sonny Styles. Could be Caleb Downs. Could be Francis Noah. Could be Carnell Tate. Could be Jordan Tyson. The fact that we're a day before the draft and 7 different players are still theoretically in the mix here for number 5 when the Giants pick 5th. That just tells you, and we've been saying this the whole process, right? How different, unpredictable, and crazy this draft is, and also how tight-lipped this building has been about letting people know what they might be doing on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants Now article I put together every day, going back to Monday morning, when I put together the one for Mel Kiper, the last 3 days I've covered 5 different mock drafts in that Giants Now article.
How many different picks?
Well, first we have Kiper, who updated his final one from last week. So Kiper, Caleb Downs at 5, Maui Noah at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Then yesterday, Jordan Reed, Sonny Styles at 5, Caleb Downs at 10. And then today, I covered 3, which was Peter Schrager, who had Arvo Reese at 5, Jordan Tyson at 10. Bucky Brooks, who has Jeremiah Love at 5, Jordan Tyson at 10. And Lance Zierlein, who has Caleb Downs at 5, Maui Noah at 10. Everyone is all over the place. No one has any actual idea what is going on outside of this building, which I know might be frustrating for those of you watching at home or at work, wherever you're watching.
Giant fans should be happy about that,
but that is a good thing.
Yes.
Because we all know how many times the Giants have been leapfrogged by other teams, and especially teams in the NFC East.
Leonard Floyd, Jack Conklin, Devonta Smith, just to name 3.
Yes, to snag a guy that the Giants wanted. So the fact that no one in the media seems to actually know who the Giants are targeting, that is a very good thing. And on the same note, I will say, this week especially, I mean, I would say really all month, but especially this week.
Especially the last 2 weeks when draft boards have been kind of finalized.
Yeah, but this is prime smokescreen season.
Oh, lying. Everyone's lying.
So for months, there was talk about, the Giants would love Sonny Styles. He could be the pick at 5. Now all of a sudden this week, Giants don't like Sonny Styles at all. And that's just one example. But you could go down at just about every single prospect that is in the conversation. There have been reports that the Giants love the guy. There have been reports that the Giants took him off their board and there's no chance they take him. All in the last 10 days or so. So my point being, don't believe everything you see. I mean, I know, obviously, we're talking about mock drafts. This is the prime season to talk about all these different predictions. But they are just that. They are predictions. These reporters, they might have some intel. We don't know if they don't even know if that's good intel or bad intel.
Well, I was listening to Daniel Jeremiah the other day. He goes, look, you call a team, the team's not telling you anything. So the way you gather intel on this, you talk to people at other teams that are friends with people on other teams, and then they tell you what they think their friend is going to do, works for a different team. So it's a lot of hearsay.
Or, potentially talking to agents and be like, right, what teams are interested in your prospect, in your player? So again, it's all hearsay. No one actually knows. And that is a good thing because now the Giants obviously have 2 top 10 picks. We don't know we don't know what direction they're going to go in. We'll find out in a little over 24 hours, 30 hours?
30 hours and 22 minutes, according to the Pat McAfee show.
Is that right? No. Maybe that's until the 7 p.m. broadcast begins. The first round kicks off at 8 p.m., which...
Oh, you're right. That must be to their broadcast.
A little bit longer.
Yeah, see, I don't like that.
A little bit longer.
It's the same way when they put the times up. You're checking the time for a game, and they include the pregame in the time. Don't like that.
No.
Not a fan.
No.
Like, for example, do we put on our schedule page on Giants.com the Giants start at 11 o'clock because that's when our radio pregame show starts? No, because it's ridiculous. It's the start of the game, which is 1 o'clock.
Because we care about the fans. We don't want to waste your time. Not that the pregame show is a waste of time by any means.
No, I'm arguing against my own show here. The game starts at 1. That should be the game time on the thing. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm old man yelling at clouds. That and you can't find NBA playoff games anymore either, by the way. They're on like 8 different apps. You don't know what channel they're on. It's impossible. But look, that's where I'm with you. This is going to be my last show, I think, before we actually get on the clock and pick on Thursday night. I guess I'll give you my prediction at the end of the show, but I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I have no idea.
I thought you were going to join us tomorrow.
I don't think I'm going to be able to. Something came up. I might try.
Talk about it.
We'll see. Okay, so maybe. Tune in tomorrow and find out if Schmeelk's on the show. If you could tell me who's going to be there when the Giants pick at 5, I think I'd have a decent shot of predicting it. But here's the problem. We don't know who the Jets are taking. It's either Reese or Bailey.
We're pretty confident it's going to be one of those two.
Right,
but I don't know which.
I do think that impacts... Like, I think the Cardinals are much more likely to draft Bailey than they are Reese. So if the Jets take Reese, I think there's a good chance the Cardinals take Bailey. I don't think the Cardinals are taking Reese. Because, and Tony Pauline made this point, there's some organizational scars there from picking Isaiah Simmons and Xavier Collins, who are two kind of those positionless linebacker-y types, and they don't want to go down that road again. I don't think that's a good way to operate, but I could see that being the case. And then the Titans. Is it Jeremiah Love? Is it one of those edge guys if they get to 4? Is it Sonny Styles if he's there at 4? It can be any one of those 3 guys. So I don't know who's going to be on the board. If you made me place a bet, which we don't do here on Giants.com, I would say one of the Ohio State defenders. That would still be my, whichever one's left. That, I think, is the most likely thing. I would be surprised if they did wide receiver at 5. I guess maybe if they really think 2 are going to be taken between 6 and 9, which I guess is a possibility.
It is possible.
The Saints, Commanders, and Chiefs, I think, not impossible for any of those 3 teams to pick a wide receiver.
And the Browns. I've seen Carnell Tate linked to the Browns at 6.
I talked to my buddy that covers the Browns. Offensive line is where they're going.
I mean,
is my understanding.
They have a lot of holes. So.
Yes. Yes.
Wide receiver being one of them, but some more pressing.
And you could probably better chance of getting a really good wide receiver. When's their next pick? The Browns, what do they pick? 24? Something like that?
Yeah.
Better chance, I think, you get a wide receiver there than an offensive line.
That's true.
But that's the thing predicting 10, right? Like, if it was my druthers, I think I would lean offensive line because I'll go back to do you know how many interior offensive linemen the Giants have under contract after 2026? The answer is 0, so I'd like to have a young offensive lineman in the mix there. But look, I've been saying from the beginning, Malik Nabers is a huge unknown, man. Like, you just don't know what he's going to look like coming off the knee injury. Nobody does. So would I be upset with a wide receiver there? I would not. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Where do you lean Tyson Tate if both are there?
Oof, that's tough. I've had this conversation with our good friend Dan Salomon upstairs, who obviously he leans Carnell Tate. The way that I look at it is between those two, Jordan Tyson has a higher ceiling. You know, if you're going to tell me one receiver of those two is going to become an alpha dog, reach that Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, best receiver in the Jamar Chase, if one guy's going to do it, I would think Tyson has a better chance of reaching that. However, he has a, pretty extensive injury history. So he might have the higher ceiling, but he certainly has the lower floor. Carnell Tate, I am very, very confident that Carnell Tate is going to be a very solid, productive wide receiver in the NFL for 10 plus years. I don't know if he's ever going to reach that alpha dog number 1 receiver status, though. I think he might be better suited for a very strong, solid 1B, even if it's like a T. Higgins 1B to Jamar Chase 1A situation, which, yes, Jamar Chase is the 1A, but they're not that far off.
We are very much on the same page here, Citak.
So
that makes me nervous.
I think the fact that we do have Malik Neighbors, and I agree with you, we don't know what Malik is going to look like this season, or at least the beginning of this season. But
you're not drafting for this year.
No, you're drafting for the future, for this year and beyond. So I guess in that case, I think I would lean towards the safer pick in Cornell Tate, and give me the Neighbors Tate combo for the however X many years to come.
And I think Tate's skill set complements Neighbors' skill set a little bit better. I think Tyson and Neighbors are both a little bit more duplicative.
Yeah, I'm with you. And again, if you could guarantee me that Tyson won't have that serious injury history again moving forward, then they would be easy. But obviously he comes with that injury risk. So for me, if I'm going to take one of those receivers, I'm probably going to take Tate.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, and I said on Tuesday's show, and Malusis kind of fought back on me on it a little bit, that, look, if I just hit 2 doubles off the wall here, and that's, Dan Jeremiah loves using that expression, I'm fine, right? Just give me 2 really good players that are going to be really good players for 10 years. I don't need to have a gold I know, but you're 2 top 10 picks. How do you not want a gold jacket guy? That's not what this draft is. Just get really good football players. You're building a program with a new coach. You want good, dependable football players. Draft those guys. Keep it that simple.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I think
just hit the 250-yard drive in the fairway. Don't try to hit the drive 300 yards over the sand trap around the tree.
The Happy Gilmore shot?
Yes. Do not try the Happy Gilmore shot. That is correct. Just do the Shooter McGavin and put it right in the middle of the fairway.
I'm with you 100%. I think
don't run over anyone with a car, though. Don't do that.
Now that the Giants have these 2 top 10 picks, I think they have a great chance to honestly add a guy that can be a key contributor from year 1 on both sides of the ball.
Correct.
I think just given the overall prospect rankings, the general consensus, I would lean towards the 5th pick being defense, because I think that's your chance to get a potential real blue chip prospect. And then at 10, whether it's helping Jackson Dart's protection with one of the linemen or adding him a top playmaker to pair with Malik Neighbors and Isaiah Likely and a wide receiver, I'm happy with any of those combinations.
What if Downs gets to 10 and you got Styles at 5?
Now, that would be a tough thing to pass up on.
I would not pass up on that.
I don't think I would either. If you have, because adding those 2, you have a chance to completely transform your defense.
And then if you draft a defensive tackle at 37, you're helping all 3 levels. My gosh.
Yeah. But then you are ignoring your offense altogether.
I understand. Which is the argument against it, obviously.
Yeah. In an ideal world, between 5 and 10, maybe trade back with one of them. I would like to. Right now, I lean towards staying at 5 unless you get a call from one of those teams. I know I've spoken about this on the show before. Mm-hmm. In that 7, 8, 9 range, the Commanders, the Saints, and the Chiefs.
Saints or the Chiefs, I think, would be realistic teams that could move up.
The Commanders, I guess there's a chance if they just decide we need to pair Jeremiah Love with Jaden Daniels and he's sitting there at 5, then maybe. Other than that, one scenario, I don't really see them trying to move up from 7 to 5, but I'm just going to put them in this hypothetical situation. That one of those teams trying to trade up, I think, would be where as far back as I would want to trade down.
I do worry about trading back from 10 because you might trade out of all the elite players.
Well, again, it depends how far down. I don't want to go from 10 to in the 20s.
Would you go to 18? What are the Rams pick? 17?
Who?
Where are the Rams? Or are they 13?
The Rams are
13,
right? If they want to trade up, I would move that from 10 to 13.
Now, somebody floated that to me today, a reporter that covers another team around the league, that if the Rams are usually very aggressive with these picks. See, they tried to trade up for Bowers, remember, a couple of years ago. Like, if there's a guy that they really want to, they try to move up into that late top 10. All right, you get to 10. You have your defensive guy at 5. Last question before we get to your calls.
Defensive guy at 5.
Would you lean receiver or offensive line? Or it doesn't matter which one we're talking about in those groups. So I'll throw the 5 guys in the pod. Tate, Tyson, Maui Noah, Fano, Ioane. I'm giving you those 5. Where would you go? All 5 will not be available on draft day, but if they are, what direction would you go and how would you kind of rank those guys for you?
That is tough. I think I would put Maui Noah first.
Okay.
Because
I agree with you. I'm with you on that.
as great as it would be to pair Malik Neighbors with another potential top playmaker, it won't matter if Jackson Dart doesn't have the time to throw the ball and to move around the pocket.
I'm with you. I
need some, and as you mentioned, 0 interior offensive linemen under contract in 2027. 0. So you pick Maui Noah. You now have in 2027, you still need 2 interior linemen, but you have a core of Andrew Thomas, Jermaine Illuminor, and Maui Noah to move forward with and to build around. And that is a pretty strong starting 3.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it makes the other 2 positions not relevant, because obviously that's not the case, but you don't need, home run picks or A-plus top tier free agents at the other 2 spots if those are your starting core at 3.
And my order would be...
So Maui Noah 1.
Maui Noah. I'd go Fano 2.
Okay.
I just think his upside, I think, is off the charts. I can't pass on that. And I do think he's a very high floor, too. I think he's just a really good athlete. He's strong. He's good.
I'm with you.
Ioane would probably be 3 for me. Then Tate, then Tyson. Though Ioane with the 2 wide receivers, that's very, very close.
I think I would have Tate 3.
Okay. And then Ioane 4 and Tyson 5?
Yeah, because as we mentioned, I know it's been a little while, and this can't be the main thing you think about when you make these picks, but we've discussed,
I'm with you. I will put Tate ahead of Ioane on my list as well.
The issue with picking a guy that is pigeonholed to an interior offensive line spot that early is you basically only have him for sure under team control for 4 years, because that 5th-year option, the offensive linemen are all clumped together. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be paying your right guard top tier, like probably one of the highest, if not the highest paid guards for that 5th-year option. We saw the exact same thing happen with Baltimore and Tyler Linderbaum. So that's the only issue I would have with taking Ioane that high, because he does, like, the other 2 guys have the potential to kick outside to tackle down the road if the Giants need them to.
Wouldn't stop you for Styles, though, right?
I don't think so.
No, it wouldn't stop me either. I'm just making a joke.
And I've said this to you before, not on the show, but I know, obviously, Tremaine Edmonds is listed at 6'4", which is very big.
He's gigantic.
I saw him in person since the players have been in the building the last couple of weeks. He is huge.
Like, he looks bigger than Kayvon to be.
Yes. So if you could pair him with another linebacker that big and even more athletic,
I know.
I think that is going to give the Giants, that will give the Giants their best linebacker core in God knows how long.
I was going to say, be careful putting a year out there, because Paul Dottino might Kool-Aid man through that door and be like, no, Gary Reasons.
Not going that far back. Those guys have the accolades to prove how good they were. But
Jesse Armstead,
at least in this century, the best linebacker core.
I agree with you. All right, 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513, hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter. If you want to get in touch with us that way, you certainly can. Oh, guys, we really appreciate you being with us. If you haven't had a chance, go check out what we've been doing on the Giants Huddle podcast. We've had a lot of great episodes. Mike Mayock went up today. Went up yesterday, I should say. Brian brought us earlier in the week. Last week, we had Dane Brugler, Todd McShay, Field Yates, Charles Davis. Bunch of really good guests. Go check them out. Giants Huddle Podcast, Giants YouTube channel, giants.com/podcast, Giants app, or just find and subscribe to the Giants Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform.
I did post the final draft season before tomorrow's festivities.
Oh, that's up too.
That's why I was a minute late.
Beautiful.
Getting that up before coming down.
Tony and I's final mock draft to see who the Giants pick at 5 and 10.
That is now up.
Should I spoil it?
No.
Well, let me
tease it. Let people go watch it.
An Ohio State player is at 5, but it might not be the one that you think it is.
Ooh.
I think that's a good tease, right? A little juicy.
Yeah, because there are 4 guys that could, in theory, be the 5th pick.
Not the guy you think it is. All right, let's lead things off with our buddy Marco in Connecticut. Marco, long time no speak, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, what's up, buddy? Good to speak with you. And John, I've listened to everything you guys have put out. Another great season, and I can't thank you enough.
Thanks for listening, Marco. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So I'll just make a point, and then I'll end with a question, and I'll hop off. I'll listen off air. I'm sensing with these 2 picks, there's going to be a little bit from the fans of the, hey, why did we draft this guy at 5? We could have gotten him at 10. And I remember that a little bit with Daniel Jones and that time with Dexter Lawrence. But I think it's a weird one because I think we know the 10 guys that are probably going to go in the top 10, but we just don't know in which order. And I heard one of you guys say that on one of the podcasts I listened to. I think it was the WFAN one. But I personally like taking a defensive player earlier in our picks because I think the offensive players are going to get pushed to the end a little bit. I think the receivers, even one of the tackles, if you have them in a group, you're going to end up happy with one of them at 10 versus the defensive players I think are pretty solidly, in my opinion, going to go early. But here's my question. If Arvell Reese drops to 5, why? I guess I want you to make the point of why don't we take Caleb Downs over him? Is it a positional thing? Because with that said, I don't think I know enough about Arvell Reese until this last 2 weeks where it started becoming a thing of, hey, maybe David Bailey goes 2, he could drop the 5, and then potentially we'd be looking at Arvell Reese. I don't know enough about him. And so I started thinking, so one is my question is, hey, Downs is my number 1 guy. Would I be absolutely crazy to take Caleb Downs over Arvell Reese? And second question is, if we drafted Reese, what set that defense up for me? What does week 1 look like with Arvell Reese with the currently constructed roster? Is there enough room for him? What would the defense look like? And I'll hop off.
No, thank you, Marco. I think that's a fantastic question. Because Arvell Reese in Schrager's scenario did drop to the Giants at 5. Look, Arvell Reese is the number 2 player on my board, and Caleb Downs is number 3 player on my board. Styles is 4, and they're all kind of right there. Reese versus Downs is tough. I know Dottino would go. I think he's actually told me he would go Reese in that situation. And I do think, even though we've said in this draft you throw position value, completely out of it, I don't think you do that for Reese, to be honest with you. But here's the trick. He's not going to be an edge player off the bat for the Giants, but I think that's okay. I know people say this, and this is Lance's always line. If you're going to draft somebody like that, you have to have a plan for him, right? And I think he's absolutely right about that. So my plan for Arvell Reese, Matt, would be very simple. Use him the exact same way Ohio State did. It's really simple. Have him play as an off-ball stack linebacker, and occasionally on passing situations, you use him as a blitzer. That's your job. Period. Stop. Conversation over. Easy peasy. And eventually, whenever that happens, maybe it never happens, where you can either use him at edge, you use him at edge. I think he's a better off-ball linebacker than he is an edge player right now anyway. I think he's a lot of work to do as a pass rusher. I think as an off-ball linebacker last year, he was phenomenal. I think he was better than Sonny Styles as an off-ball linebacker last year. His ability to take on blocks, use his length to separate, he can run in space, he's a great blitzer. I would just draft Arvell Reese there and put him as my linebacker next to Tremaine Edmonds, and I'd go to war and be very happy about it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it in what role he would play on this defense if the Giants were to take him. I think in the similar sentiment that we've talked about Downs, how you can he's very versatile and you can use him in a variety of spots. The same goes for Reese. Just obviously push him one level forward from where Downs is, obviously, in the secondary. To Marco's first question, though, the first part of the question, no, I don't think you'd be crazy for taking Caleb Downs over Arvell Reese.
No, I don't think you'd be crazy either.
I agree with you and Paul that I think I would lean towards Arvell Reese over Caleb Downs. But Caleb Downs is arguably the best defensive player, period, in this draft. He's clearly in the conversation at least. So you would not be crazy to do it. No. How many guys are 3-time All-American selections, including as a freshman All-American? Not a freshman All-American. As a freshman, he was named All-American.
And started as a freshman in Nick Saban's secondary.
Yes, at Alabama. Yes. Not many guys can say that they did that. I also think if the scenario plays out where David Bailey goes to, let's just hypothetically say the Cardinals go with Jeremiah Love at 3, and then Sonny Styles goes 4, you're going to have teams, those same teams we were just talking about in that 8, more likely the Chiefs at 9, they're going to come calling. Now, I don't know what they're going to offer, so it may not, obviously it takes 2 to tango. The Giants aren't going to just trade back just for the sake of trading back. It has to be worthwhile.
Malus has asked me this question on Tuesday, what it would take for me to trade out of Arvell Reese, and my answer was a lot.
What if they offered you 40?
Not enough.
So 9 and 40, that would not do it?
No, it would not.
Yeah, I think I would do that. As much as I want Arvell Reese.
I'm not even sure 1 and 29 would be enough. 9 and 29 would be enough for me.
Oh, 9. In a heartbeat for me. 9 and 29?
Might not be. Reese is it,
wow.
dude.
Trust me, I was the one that agreed with you that I would take Arvell Reese at 5 if you were to stay, if he was on the board and you were to stay there. But
the problem is then you have a chance to get Reese and Downs.
A chance, yeah, but there's no guarantee that Downs is still going to be there.
I understand, but I think
the
you
Commanders
could.
take him, the Saints.
Here's my thing: you could also, if you're trading out of 5, you're trading out of an elite defensive player.
But for the same thing, you just said Downs could. If you trade down to 9, Downs could still be there.
Yeah, maybe, possible. You're right. So, and I'm going to read people this. This is a quote from Bruce Feldman's mock draft, where he interviews college coaches about Arvell Reese. I'm going to read a couple of quotes here, okay? This is a Big Ten offensive coach who coached against Arvell Reese last year. They asked him to do a ton. He's elite at everything that they asked him to do. He's playing stack linebacker better than the guy who only plays stack linebacker. And then he goes to edge and rushes the passer better than the guys who only have to rush the passer. He's setting the edge and is just as good as the guys who are 40 pounds heavier than him. Then he's covering just as well as the nickel, and Caleb Downs are covering him. The guy is an alien, and he's clearly very smart because he's doing so much for them. He's playing that adjuster spot, which is what they call that position in the Belichick tree. You got to be really smart to play that spot. I think he's incredible. I hope he goes somewhere that is going to be aggressive in how they use him, the same way Mike McDonald was with Emanwari and Dallas was with Michael Parsons. Another big-time offensive coordinator. Man, he is super impressive. They did so much different stuff defensively. He was so dangerous as a spy. He is really freaky. He's different.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that he's not amazing.
No,
he is one of the best players in this draft. There's a reason why.
That was a few. That was more for Marco.
Yeah, there's a reason why he is, probably the favorite to go number 2 overall behind Fernando Mendoza. Like, he is extremely talented. But all that being said, if you tell me, so let me ask you this then. Mm-hmm. Let's say
1 and 9
you
and
could
29,
take Reese at 5, and then let's just back to what we were saying earlier. One of the offensive linemen at 10, Maui Noah.
Okay.
Would you rather have those two, Reese and Maui Noah, or a combination of, let's just say for this hypothetical, you trade down to 9 and Downs is not there?
Yes, because if you're telling me Downs is there, then I would do the trade.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
Correct.
Yeah, then it would be easy.
Yes, then it would be easy. Correct.
Downs is gone. So you're at 9, 10, and the Chiefs overpay and give you 29.
Okay.
Even though the trade value chart shows that is pretty lopsided. But regardless. So would you rather have Reese and Maui Noah, or let's see.
You can keep Maui Noah in there if you want. Keep Maui Noah in there.
Delane, Maui Noah, and then Caden McDonald at 29. And you still have 37th pick to now take, let's say, the top wide receiver.
All right,
or a linebacker for that.
All right, let me think about it. So you're giving me Caden McDonald, Delane,
and Maui
Noah.
Or just Reese.
Or Reese and Maui Noah. So would I trade Delane and McDonald for Reese? That's basically what the question is, right?
Yeah.
It's a really good question, actually. It's a really good question.
And I do see a YouTube comment, who would you select at 29? It probably would be Caden McDonald.
If he gets there.
If he's there. Because I just think he would be the perfect fit.
Replacing Dexter. I agree with you. I think that's a really good name. You know what? That's really close, Matt. I got to be honest with you. I would not do it for 40. 29, I had not given that a ton of thought, but I would have to really consider 29.
And again, I don't think the Chiefs are offering that, to be clear.
Right.
I don't think to move back 4 spots. And again,
no, and I agree with you.
Even though it would be moving up for Reese and a player at that position, we do see teams overpay. I mean, we saw what the Falcons gave up to move up for James Pierce last year, which was crazy.
Okay, well, let's go about it this way. Let's say it's 40, okay? So why don't we do that equation then?
Okay.
So you have Reese and Maui Noah versus, let's say, again, Delane, Maui Noah. I think that's a good combination. And then 40, you want to say Christian Miller, Ted Hurst, Jeremy Bernard. Who would you want to plug in there at 40?
If Delane and Maui Noah were the first two picks,
Yes. So you're looking at
I would say the top defensive tackle available, whether it's
well, you could
Christian
theoretically
Miller, Lee Hunter.
I think you're picking that guy at 37 though.
Yeah, I'm talking about 37 and 40. I'm kind of thinking of them together.
Right, but
who you could come out with those two picks.
I hear you, but I think the defensive tackle would be a bigger priority in that situation, right? So I think you probably wouldn't wait till 40 for that. So I think you're getting him at 37 regardless. So what receiver or maybe linebacker, whatever, whoever you would want to put in at 40. Maybe you want to put C.J. Allen in there. Maybe you want to put Jacob Rodriguez in there to replace Reese at linebacker.
That would be an intriguing pick.
So that's interesting.
I like Jacob Rodriguez.
So would you do? What would you prefer? Maui Noah, Delane, Rodriguez. I think 40 for him is, or C.J. Allen, one of those two guys, whatever.
Okay.
One of those linebackers, or would you rather have Reese and Maui Noah? You know what?
See, that's tougher.
The 40 combination is actually not bad, though. It's not bad.
It's not bad, and it addresses three areas that, again, maybe not glaring needs in 2026, but needs down the road as well. Because as we know, a lot of the guys that are kind of
and the Giants do need players.
At least right now, projected to be starters are signed to one-year deals. It goes for a variety of positions. Obviously, we've spoken about the interior offensive line, but Greg Newsome signed to a one-year deal. Darnell Mooney, Calvin Austin, there's just Micah McFadden. So
you have convinced
you're addressing more holes.
I would do the trade at 29, but I do the trade at 40.
I think the question...
I do like the linebackers.
It comes down to how far separated you have, the Reese, or even I'll say Downs and Delane. If you have them basically together, there's a good chance one of them will be there at 9.
I have Downs a tier above Delane.
Where's Delane on your rankings? I know Downs, you said, is third.
Yeah, Downs
overall.
is 3. Him and Styles are kind of 3, 4, and I've switched them back and forth twice in the last 3 days, to be honest with you. I think it's very close. I ended up putting Delane ahead of Bain. I did not. Did I update that on this? I did not. So let me make that switch now. So I have Delane as player 6. But he is in my
different tier,
non-top 10 first-round grade thing. While I have Downs and Styles as a top 10 grade. So I have Delane as player 7 on my board. I said 6, player 6, pardon me.
I personally really like Delane.
So do I. I think he's really good.
I think he's going to be a very good corner. And I think that is somewhat sneakily a big need for the Giants.
All right, how about this? I'm going to get really clever with you now. If I draft Reese at 5, can I trade Thibodeau for an extra 3? So I get the extra pick, but I get Reese too. I'm getting greedy, Citak.
You are getting greedy.
Well, I'm getting another guy that could play a little edge, so maybe you can then turn that guy into an extra pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Giants do take Reese at 5, it wouldn't surprise me if they at least look into
explored it, right?
The idea of trading Kayvon. Again, they're not just going to trade Kayvon away to trade him.
I want how about a late 3rd round pick? I'll be realistic about it.
I mean, if you were to take Reese, then obviously that move is a lot easier to swallow.
Because
you don't take pretty much just Reese, because I don't think any of the pure edge rushers are really in the running for the Giants.
Correct.
At 5.
Reese is the guy I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, then that would be a makes sense as if A happens, then we'll do B.
I would prefer that scenario than the trade for pick 40 scenario. Because, look, I think there are a lot of needs, and I think
for sure
you need as many picks as you can to fill those needs. I'm going to keep thinking about pick 40. That's close.
Ideal world, you stick at 5, pick the best defensive player, and then trade down from 10 to maybe the 14, 15 range.
Then I think you're going to have to pick a wide receiver then.
You don't think Ioane would still be
I'm not trusting him getting past Baltimore.
That's fair. All right.
Baltimore's at 14, so I would not. I think once you get to 14, I think all 3 of those top offensive linemen, there's a good chance they're gone.
And then along with Tyson and Tate, you think all of those guys are gone?
I'd have to do the math on that. Could they all potentially be gone? Let me see. So that's 15. The earliest those guys could be gone, for it to be completely wiped out, the earliest it could be is 12. but I think that's probably unlikely that those guys go in exactly the order that I would have them ranked on my board.
I don't know. You're pretty good at this.
Maybe. I mean, look, they at 15, there's a decent chance they're all wiped out. There's a decent chance. Because right now, basically the first 14 players, and I'm going to just include Mendoza in that just because we know he's going to go, are all those players. So, heck, I'll just give you my top 15. These are the guys that I have with, like, true first-round grades. Love, Reese, Downs, Styles, Bailey, Delane, Bain, Fano, Maui Noah, Tate, Sadiq, Ioane, Tyson, Thieneman. Those are the guys that I have with true first-round grades. 15 guys. So, by 15, theoretically, because 2 of the 15 are Sadiq and Thieneman. You're not looking for Sadiq or Thieneman. So,
no.
If those aren't in the top 13, all those players we've talked about could be wiped out by 13.
It's true.
And I think it's realistic.
Risky.
I think it's realistic they could be wiped out by 13 too.
Yeah. I mean, look, trading down from 10 to that range, there's a reason why teams are trying to trade up to that range.
You get to that area, you can still walk over Denzel Boston, Makai Lemon, Keiki Concepcion, if you like him. Do you like Caden Proctor? Put him a guard right away. Be a mauling guard. That's a guy you can wind up there. So there are other options you could have. I don't know what they think of Jermod McCoy's knee. Is that a pick they would consider there as a shutdown corner? That's someone you could talk about in that situation. So there are still players. Do you like Keldrick Falk as like a big defensive interior lineman? Like, there are different players you could talk about if you decide to trade down there. All right, let's go back to the phones. I said I wouldn't get many calls, and then we just got this whole freaking tangent. It was a fun tangent, though. I like the tangent. Roberto in Florida. Roberto, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, John, Matt?
How you doing?
Great show.
Yep. What's your point today, Roberto?
I'm not all that knowledgeable. Alvaro Reese is, to me, the best player in the draft. Between Alvaro Reese and Downs, it's a no-brainer. I'm taking Alvaro. So let's say by some miracle Reese is there, or he's not. I'll go with Sonny Styles, right, over Downs, right? And then we got, what, 10? First round at 10?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I think it is either Tate or Tyson at 10. But here comes 37. And that will be where I got defense. McDonald's, Banks, Hunter, Miller, or Peter Woods, right? But my question is, right?
Yeah.
Right off the top of my head, because I don't know if it's true, how many picks do we have on round 6?
3.
3, right?
Yep.
Now, we've seen some crazy stuff happen because I knew Dexter was going to be traded, but it was beyond me that we get a number 1 pick from. But that's crazy stuff is happening already. Would you give up 5 and all 3 in a 6 for a third round to the Jets or Arizona? And that is my question. I'll let you guys go.
I appreciate it. No, you would not trade your 5th overall pick for 3 third-round pick. No, that would not be something you would want to do.
Is that what the question was?
I thought that's what his question was. Oh no, go to number 2. Is that what he meant?
3. I think so.
No, that's not going to get a ton. 6th-round picks are just not very valuable.
3 6th-round picks are not. That's not going to do it. Now you could use those 6th-round picks to maybe go from 145 in the 5th round and move up back into the 4th round.
I'm guessing 5 to 2 would probably cost you 37.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, if not more. Yeah, correct.
So I don't see the Giants moving up from 5 or 10 for that matter. If anything, they need the Giants will be looking to accumulate more picks, not give away picks to move up, at least not at the beginning of the draft.
No, I'm with you. All right, let's go to Giovanni down in Jacksonville. He's up next. Giovanni, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
What's up, bud?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, I got to say, I love all the conversations that are going across social media. It's honestly killing me. There's, like, so many unknowns, and it's so entertaining to see, like, everyone just flipping out over a certain pick. So, I gotta say, though, I don't see the Giants taking Reese if he falls. I have a really strong opinion against Sonny Styles. I don't know. It's just me. Every time I look at the film, he's not nearly as physical as he should be for his athleticism compared to like Downs. who's my favorite pick right now. Like, he's shorter and he weighs less, but he hits harder. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I really hope we don't draft Sonny Styles.
Yeah, by the way, I don't disagree, Giovanni. I don't think Styles is what I would consider a thumper. I don't think he's a thumper, but he is definitely rangy, and he doesn't shy away from contact. But no, I don't think he's a guy that's going to take on some 320-pound pulling guard, discard that guard, and then go make a play. I don't think that's what he is, but I do think that's what Tremaine Edmonds is, and that's what the Giants have Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah, I agree. So I would say there's no world where Downs makes it past, I would say, Washington. He probably goes 7, 8, 9 range. And then I'm looking at Peter Schrager's mock draft here. Like, for example, if we don't take Downs at 5, Dallas will definitely trade up ahead of the Giants into 9 with the Chiefs and take Downs ahead of us.
I think there is a good chance of that. I don't disagree with that at all.
Yep.
So there's no world where if we don't take Downs at 5 that he's falling to 10. So theoretically speaking, from the top-tier talent, best-case scenario is Jeremiah Love goes before the Giants because I think he's going to get drafted at 5 if he's there, which would be, like, I'm not going to be mad at that, but Giants fans would probably freak out over that. I'm not going to lie. Especially if we miss out on Downs. Like, he's just a tremendous talent. Like, we can't do that. So I'm going to predict it's going to be Mendoza, Bailey, and then Bain or Styles to 3, and then Reese or Bain for 4. And then we're going to take Downs at 5. And then I'm going to say either Francis Mauigoa or Jordan Tyson at 10.
All right. I like it. Thank you, Giovanni. Appreciate the call. I think that's a fair prediction, though. I don't think the Cardinals will take Styles. I think the Cardinals are either
edge rusher
or Love.
I don't think Love's getting past the Titans at 4.
Look, teams are just going to pick the best player, man.
Love to Tennessee, I feel like, was like a very big narrative for a month or two after the season ended, and then it got dead quiet on that front. And the last month or so, it's been like, oh, we don't. Analysts, reporters are saying we don't know if the Titans are actually interested in Jeremiah Love. I mean, you have the same reason, the argument to make for Giants to take him to pair him with Jackson Dart. Titans have the same with Cam Ward. And I would say that they have more of a reason to, because I think Jackson showed more last year than Cam Ward did for Tennessee.
And I think the Giants have better weapons around Jackson already than the Titans do.
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants have Scatterboo. They have Malik Neighbors. They have Isaiah Likely.
100%.
Who are the weapons around Cam Ward right now?
Alec Iomanor?
Tony Pollard?
Calvin Ridley, I think, is still there.
He took a pay cut to stay. Correct. Hence my point. Yeah. Exactly right. No, I'm with you. But again, it's a defensive-oriented head coach. I feel like he's going to want to get that defense secured. But
for sure.
Who knows? Maybe not. I have no idea. My gut feeling, and I'm not reporting this by any means, but based on what I've read in different places, my feel is that the Cardinals owner wants Jeremiah Love to sell tickets.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
That would not surprise me one bit.
We do have a couple of newsy things.
Oh, what do you got? Right on
the
off.
Last couple of minutes. First, Pete Thamel, one of the top college football insider reporters out there, just tweeted that NFL teams received a letter today about Caleb Banks, who is the Florida defensive tackle that has been dealing with a foot injury, that after a CT scan yesterday, he's on pace to be fully cleared for football activities in early June.
Okay.
So
it's training camp.
Yep. That's even before training camp.
Yeah, but I think teams I don't think
rush him
correct.
Back. Yes, but that means he should be good to go for training camp. I mean, that's a guy that should go somewhere in the second round, most likely.
Is this the other news item that you had?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that I don't know, I guess it was Stephen Jones from the Cowboys literally just announced that the Cowboys are not negotiating a long-term deal with George Pickens, that they're just going to have him play out on the franchise tag, which I think means between 12 and 20. I think wide receiver is certainly in the running now.
And I guess
if it wasn't already.
And I guess that's preferable than to have it hanging over their heads, like to just know that we're not going to do a contract so you don't get like daily contract updates. But
I guess, I mean,
here's the problem.
Ideally, you just agree to a long-term deal.
Well, here's the problem. If you're George Pickens, how much you're asking for? 40 at this point, right?
Yeah.
If you're the Cowboys up for 1 year, are you comfortable giving George Pickens $40 million a year?
Me? No.
He's not Michael Parsons.
No.
So I'm with you. That's why the Parsons things last year was confusing and weird. This I understand why the Cowboys would approach it this way.
Agreed.
I get that.
I feel like Jordan Tyson is a guy that Jerry Jones would fully roll the dice on.
And then look, after you make that trade, are the Patriots still looking for a wide receiver and they don't want to wait on A.J. Brown? Like, would they trade a pick for Pickens?
Possible. Although
You know
it
what I
seems
mean?
like that trade is kind of just agreed on and they're just waiting till June 1st.
Sure kind of seems that way.
And then the last thing, which isn't news but more of a report, but just because we were talking about this a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
Jordan Schultz, a couple of minutes ago, tweeted out that the consensus among teams is that there will be an offensive line run on tomorrow night, starting in the 10 to 14 range. So, there's 3 guys that seem to be on their own tier, and, different people have them ranked differently, but Maui Noah, Fano, and Ioane, as you just said, all 3 could be gone by the time the Ravens make their pick at 14.
I think all these offensive linemen I think are on the table as potential round 1 picks. Spencer, Fano, Maui Noah, Ioane, Proctor, Freeling, Blake Miller, Iana Chor, Lomu, Pregnon, Basantis. I think you're looking at 10. And I don't think Jennings Dunker gets into the end of the first round. He'd be the next guy on the list for me.
Oh, that would be.
But I would be blown away if that happens.
He's going day 2.
Oh, no, Rutledge. Rutledge is 11. Sorry. So that's 11 guys.
Rutledge could sneak
that could potentially be. I actually like Dunker a little bit better than I do Rutledge personally. That's just my personal opinion. I know I'm not off the beaten path on that one.
I'd take either of them, honestly.
But
day 2.
And I have them I have their tags basically touching. So yeah, I don't disagree with Jordan Schultz. I think that will, in fact, I think you might see some movement of teams moving up in the middle of the first round area to try to get their lineman of choice before they fly off the board. Back to the phones at 201-939-4513. But just a reminder, folks, join us for a draft night block party at Hudson Yards, New York on Thursday, April 23rd, presented by Moody's. Free and open to the public starting at 3:30 until the Giants make their 2 first-round selections of the 2026 NFL Draft. Enjoy meet and greet opportunities with current Giants players and legends, photos with the Super Bowl trophy. Live stage programming begins at 7 p.m. For more information on the event, visit Giants.com/draft party. All right, we got 3 calls. Let's knock these out. Then we got some YouTube comments we'll hit as well, Mr. Citak. Then we got to get out to minicamp practice. It is practice 2 today.
Yep.
Let's go to Alex in Syracuse. He's up next. Alex, what's going on?
Hey, boys. I got 3 kind of rapid-fire questions for you to each answer. 1 for each day of the draft.
Okay.
So I'll start first round.
Question 1.
Yes. I am a Sonny Styles guy through and through. I don't think that's a hot take at this point if we can get him at 5. However, if Sonny Styles is not at 5, my new second choice, and this is new, I was a Caleb Downs guy second, but the more I look at this draft and how quickly cornerbacks drop off and how much, to Citak's point, I think that is a real need for us and fits more of the value of that part of the draft. I'm a little bit higher on Mansour Delane now at potentially 5 even, but I'm curious if you guys think that's a little too rich. I actually think you have a better chance of getting Downs at 10 than you do even Delane if you really wanted to get both of them, which is crazy to do 2 defensive backs in the first round. But that's my first question is, do you think Delane at 5 is a little too hot?
I think it's a little hot. Real fast, I will answer very quickly. I think it's a little hot, but look, Delane's my 6th player. So if you pick your 6th player at the 5th pick, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a terrible decision. And I think it's a coin toss whether Delane or Downs would be available at 10 for both, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think 5 is a tiny bit too rich for me for Delane. But if you were to move back to 8 or 9, that would be potentially my number 1. Him and Downs, I would have no problem taking both Delane and Downs because obviously secondary, it was, despite resources being put there the last couple of off seasons, didn't perform to expectations last year. And in Delane and Downs, you're getting arguably the best defensive player, period, and a guy that can develop into potentially your number 1 corner, even with Paulson Adebo here. So I would have no problem taking those 2, but it would probably have to trade down a couple of picks and take them like 8 and 10 or 9 and 10.
Question 2.
Yeah, I would just say I totally agree with that. I'm also really open to doing some trades back. I'm assuming we're not for now for this sake. Question 2. You guys have said this too. I think defensive tackle at that 37 pick, it just feels like such a moment where need meets value, meets obviously just losing Dexter. So I'm going to give you 4 names. And I think you sort of did this with Broadus recently, but I'll to ask you again. So these are the 4 names that I keep looking at defensive tackle that I think are most realistic to be there. And I'll give them to you in my order of preference, and then I'd love each of yours. So for me, it goes Kristen Miller, Peter Woods, Lee Hunter, and then Caleb Banks. Because even with that news you just said, it's one thing to be healthy enough to be playing football by June, but you wonder what it's really going to look like. So that gives, and again, I think he's a top prospect based on some of the early tape, but I worry about that injury and knowing that we need like instant production from probably whoever we pick at that position. That gives me a little bit of pause on Caleb Banks. So it's an interesting one for me.
For me,
go ahead.
Last one. What do you got?
I'm just going to give you a few names that are third round or third day guys. First at 105, if we have not picked a receiver by that point, which on a lot of what I've been doing is the case, a name that I haven't heard a lot about, but I started watching tape. Dejon Stribling is a guy that I'm really interested in, especially your take on like sort of what your notes on him are. And then just a few other names for like the later, those last 3 rounds, last 3 picks. Looking at, I think it's Matt Golbin or Chris Golbin, the center, but he actually plays a bunch of interior offensive line. The fullback out of Navy, Eli Heinrich, his tape's crazy. And then also, and then at 145, Torian York, the linebacker. If you guys could just give me some thoughts on those guys, I'd be appreciative.
Awesome. I appreciate the call, man. Good stuff. All right, so on the defensive tackles first, I originally had Miller ranked ahead of McDonald for the Giants just because I wanted a guy with some pass rush juice to play next to Dex. But now that Dex isn't here anymore, you need a run-stopping nose tackle. I would put them pretty much even, and I think...
Well, he didn't mention McDonald, so I'm assuming
but that's why I want to put him into the mix.
But I took it as him saying that he's already gone.
I agree.
He would be my number 1 as well.
So let's put McDonald at 1.
Yeah.
Miller would be my number 2. Number 3, I would probably then be willing to roll the dice on Caleb Banks. Peter Woods for me would be number 4. And then Lee Hunter would be number 5 for me. That's how I would have those guys ordered.
I think I would go McDonald 1. I would think I'd roll the dice on Woods 2.
Okay.
Because he's
got a lot of talent.
He has a lot of talent and has shown flat. I mean, again, going into this past college football season, he was projected to be a top 5 pick.
He was a top 10
interior defensive lineman.
All of his 2024 tape, he was a top 10 player.
He did not have the season that anyone thought, probably including himself, that he would have. I would be willing to roll the dice that this coaching staff can get the best out of him.
Okay.
And I think he's got the most upside, I think, of the crew. I like Lee Hunter a lot, so I would probably have him 3. Oh, yeah, you know what? I have Christian Miller first, then Lee Hunter 4, Caleb Banks 5.
Banks 5. Okay, fair enough. I think that is a very flavory thing right there. Which one of those guys you happen to like best? But again, I think now that you need a true nose, I think Caden McDonald becomes much more valuable in terms of someone you're going to try to target. But
I
think
literally be the perfect. No one's going to replace Dex. No, you're not going to get one guy just to replace Dex. No one's saying that. But he would be a pretty good young guy to not even roll the dice on, because he's going to come in and immediately improve your run defense. And it's whether or not he can develop the pass rushing more so in the NFL to say whether or not he could. I'm not going to say to reach the level that Dex has reached the last couple of years, but even be in the same ballpark. As a run defender, he's already great. He's going to help the run defense immediately wherever he lands. And obviously that is something that the Giants have needed some help in recent years.
I concur. All right, now for the later round guys you talked about. Dejon Stribling, I had not watched him until like last Friday. I was blown away at how good he is. He's fantastic. People talk, Omar Cooper, he's kind of like a smaller A.J. Brown. No. You know what A.J. Brown is? It's Dejon Stribling. He's 200 plus pounds. He's 6 foot. He catches the ball and he goes. He ran a 4.36. I have you'll be surprised. Stribling right now is my number 6 wide receiver. I have him ahead of Cooper. I have him ahead of Hurst. I have him ahead of Brazel. He's my 6th guy. I was that impressed when I watched him finally. Thought it was really good.
That is pretty good.
I did not watch Golden. I got to be honest with you. I'm always saying when you ask for about a guy that I haven't watched, I have not watched Golden, the offensive lineman. Heidenreich's fun. You mentioned he's listed as a fullback, but no, he's really a third down back. He's a guy that's basically your old traditional David Meggett style scat back, right? Where he's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. He could play in the slot a little bit, so that's the type of weapon he is. And then Torian York is a really fun linebacker. He's a good player. He's just like 6 foot, 220 pounds with really short arms. So I think that's going to push him into late day 3. But man, that guy knows how to play the linebacker position. He is a lot of fun.
Yeah, for me, options at 105. Obviously, I'm not breaking any news here. It really depends on what areas the Giants addressed with their first few picks.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of these wide receivers, the likelihood that they would be there at 105, but the guy from North Dakota State,
Bryce Lance, yep, that's a good one.
He would be if the Giants have not taken a receiver, I think he's got a lot of upside, and he's a big guy, 6'3" plus. He would be a very interesting pick. There's no way Ted Hurst makes it to 105.
Well, Paul will tell you that he can, but I yelled.
No way.
I yelled at him on Tuesday night for that, and he got a little mad at me.
I've seen him in mock drafts in like the 40s.
I know that.
Yeah.
We are in agreement. You can fight that battle tomorrow at 12:30.
No, thank you. And then at other positions, I do think linebacker, if the Giants don't take a linebacker at 5 or 37, that could be an interesting area to take a chance on one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Josiah Trotter from Missouri. Bryce Betcher?
Bryce Betcher, yep.
From Oregon.
Keyshawn Elliott's another guy I think maybe could be in the mix.
Yeah. And then I think by the time 105 comes around, I think there's a decent chance that the Giants have already taken a defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman. If not, again, I don't know exactly how likely this guy is, but Dominique Orange.
Yeah, I don't think he's making it.
He's probably not.
I'd love it if he was there. I don't think he's making it.
The big citrus at 105, that would be
great.
That would be great.
I'm not sure that's going to happen, though. I'm with you. There are a lot of actually 4th-round defensive tackles. I just think they're more developmental types.
Sure.
And you could have like a Will Lee from Texas A&M, the corner, if you haven't picked the corner yet.
Yeah.
That's a guy that could be available there. Deion Burke's the wide receiver, if you like him.
That's another one.
A lot of people have Skylar Bell dropping to the 4th round.
That's another interesting
I have a late 2nd round grade on him, but if he somehow gets there, sign me up.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yep.
That'd be fantastic. 201-939-4513. All right, we got to pick up the pace here. Let's go to Steven Plattsburgh. Steven, what's going on?
Good afternoon, gents.
How you
John,
doing?
I agree with you. If Arvell Reese is there at 5, you run to the podium. I've called a couple times. The draft is nothing but a crapshoot. I've been watching it for 60 years.
It's hard.
It's hard. Consensus on Neal and Thibodeau, where they were top 10 picks, and we know what happened there. Now, a little bit of comedy. The draft, my last thing I want to say on the draft is, let's talk about the draft on Monday, after everything is done. Stop the guessing. Let's get it done and over with.
Well, good luck with that,
now,
Steven, because that's not going to happen.
A little bit of comedy. The Quest Center right now, and I think this is why some players ran. The sign on Quest right now says, "Welcome to the Coughlin Harbaugh Boot Camp." The Daboll Summer Camp has moved to Tennessee. If you want to come behind these doors, we will separate the men and the boys. And if you want to drive a bulldozer, we will teach you how to do that. If you want to drive a Mini Cooper, turn around and go home. That's all I have to say.
All right, Steven. Appreciate the call. Look, Brian Daboll ran a fine camp in spring and summer. Like there was nothing wrong with that. But does Harbaugh bring another level of intensity to things? Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah, we don't have to go too much into this. All I'll say was yesterday was the first practice. We were able to watch it. Definitely had a more serious feel.
Not a lot of downtime.
Yeah, definitely more serious feel than the last couple of years, but I'll leave it at that.
All right, Jason in New Haven. Oh, Jason, you say, guys, I have like 6 points and a question and a comment. You're going to have to limit it here. I'm going to give you about 90 seconds. Go.
Okay, my picks for tomorrow, I'm going to go back to the 2 that I love. I'm going Tate at 5, Ioane at 10. If we're really serious about trying to see if Dart is our potential QB of the future, which I think he is, but there's still some time, some growth for him. I think those 2 would be big major boom to our offense.
Very safe picks, Jason. I will say that. I think both of those are like just try to get a good football player.
Right. So, and then at 37, I'm liking if Banks is healthy, the doctor's saying that. You just don't find athletes that size.
Well, Jason, remember, he's not healthy. He's on schedule to be healthy in June. So,
yeah. I get that.
The wording's very specific.
Well, I think the last point, the injury thing is tough because there has been players in the college game that were injured and got to the league who have been pretty healthy, and you got players that were really healthy in college football like Saquon was, and you get to the league and you got torn knees and ankles, and then, so the injury thing to me is more luck than, well, he was injured in college, he'll be injured in the NFL. So, listen, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, fellas. You guys continue to do a great job. And are you guys going to be on tomorrow?
Yeah, 12:30 tomorrow, and then we're live when the Giants make their pick at number 5.
All right. I'll listen in. All right.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank
All right, real rapid fire some YouTube comments. Mandalorian, Tate can be neighbors 1B, but this wide receiver class is deep. We don't need a first-round wideout. I understand that argument on both ends. Joe Scalzo, 4960, best case scenario, Styles 5, Downs 10, McDonald 37. Boy.
We know someone who would love that.
Is that Dan Solomon's burner account?
I think
on YouTube? But yeah, honestly, though, all jokes aside.
I also would love
Where do I side? Let's do this. John, if Fano and Maui Noah are there at 10 and the Giants are set an O-line, who would you take? I like Fano better as a prospect overall, but I think given what the Giants need today, they're close enough for me on the rankings where I think fit with Maui Noah is a little bit better, so I think I would lean Maui Noah there, assuming the medicals on the back are okay.
I was going to say, does the back report scare you at all?
I guess a little bit, but
we've discussed this off air. For those that have read it, that does seem we have not looked at his medical charts by any means, but
I've asked for the MRI. They have not provided it.
The reports are out there that it is not a long-term concern. Yes, it could affect him sometime this rookie season, but it is not something once it's fixed. It's got a couple-month recovery, and then he should be completely
And by
fine.
the way, herniated discs, and also you get an injection, they just go right back in, and it's not hurting anymore. Yeah. So it could be nothing. That's why I hate guessing on medical stuff, is you just don't know. You just don't know. Frenchie, WW, if Sonny Styles isn't there at 5 and Orville Reese is available, can he do the same things we want from Styles? I would say yes. From a run game perspective, he's probably not quite as good in coverage as Styles.
That's fair.
But I mean, he still ran. What was 4.47 his 40-yard dash?
They had this. They tied for the fastest 40-yard dashes for linebacker.
Were they the same?
They were the same.
So
it was Sonny Styles' other drills that separated him from the rest of the group. But
for some reason, 40, I thought, okay,
they had the same time. And I will say, Tremaine Edmonds pretty good in coverage. Yeah, they have one good linebacker that's good in coverage. So
yeah, I would have no problem with Orville Reese at linebacker. Ryan Evans, in both of your ideal worlds, what do you think we do at 5 and 7? I think we covered that. I think Styles and Downs would be our ideal dream.
I would say Styles or Downs, and then an offensive lineman. I want to give Jackson some help.
I want both guys. Give me both.
I mean, I would certainly be happy with that.
They're both top 4 players on my board, so I can't go another way. So let's go Styles and Downs. Ignoring D at 5 and 10 would mean a season of high-scoring games. Exciting, yes, but winning? It's a good question you have to ask. It certainly will help your quarterback, which, as Jason pointed out, has got to be a big goal here to try to give Jackson Dart as much as you can. Sure. Nick 9 at 10, we should get Downs, but if he is gone, then get Tyson. Works. Lucas, life lessons. Francis, Vega. We could use Dex money on defensive tackle help. Double offensive lineman. I think that might be Paul Dottino's burner account. All right. Simons 5002. Downs at 5. Maui Noah or Ione or Ioane, pardon me, at 10.
I would love that.
I have no problem with that. Sonny Styles at 5. Downs at 10. I'm with you.
Also love that.
Schmeelk Cohen. Nick again. We need Styles at 5. Stop the run. Well, he's got to be there. That's coin toss whether or not he's there at 5 at this point.
I lean he will be there, but it's so far from guaranteed.
55-45, like somewhere in that type of area. Yeah. Simons again, we need a stud guard, not 2 defenders with the top 2 picks. You could find the guard at 37 if you want a guard.
This is true. As the next comment says.
And Mandalorians, you can get a stud guard at 37. I don't know if it's a stud, but you can get a starting level guard at 37.
Very quickly.
Yes, please.
I just looked this up. I don't know if you've looked yet at the current free agents available next offseason.
I have not.
Okay.
I have not looked at that.
I was just looking, and there are some, at least at the wide receiver position, some very interesting big names. Drake London, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, Rashee Rice, Christian Watson.
Now, 3 of those guys might never get there.
For sure. And that would be London, Olave, and Rice.
So I was thinking Watson more than Rice.
Really?
Well, Rice did not exactly have a good year last year, not to mention the off-the-field stuff.
That's true.
Out of the Chiefs draft the wide receiver this year.
Fair. My question was just going to be if looking ahead at next year's free agent class would affect have any sort of effect on your plans
No,
for drafting?
it would not, because I don't think any of those guys ever become available to sign.
I highlighted these guys. I meant at any position. Would you look at that? Again, I've only really looked at these receivers just now, but
That's a good question.
looking at the other positions, would that have any sort of effect? Or do you just say, let's focusing on the draft this weekend, pick the best players available, we'll worry about
maybe as like a tiebreaker, but nothing much more than that.
All right. Fair enough. I agree. I just wanted to
All right, so I think you got everything you need out of me here, guys. I gave you my first round grades, my first/second round grades, if you want them really quick. The guys that you kind of mentioned already, in no particular order. Maybe I'll give you an order. Mekhi Lemon, Jermon McCoy, Freeling, Boston, Concepcion, T.J. Parker, McNeil Warren, Proctor, Chris Johnson, Falk, and Cassius Howell. Those are like my bottom one, the top 2 grades. And then one thing I have to get better at as an evaluator, I always have way too many second round grades. I have like 35 second round grades. Like, that's just not a thing. I need to get better at that. So that is on my goals for next year, be a little bit tougher on my second round grades. But it should be fun. We'll have time to talk about day 2 on Friday. So I'm not going to get too deep into that. Citak, enjoy the show at the Tino tomorrow. I'll see if I can pop in for a little cameo or something like that.
Sounds
We're going to have Charlie Campbell, by the way, who will give us his latest draft intel tomorrow off the top of the show at 12:30. Check that out. Draft season is up. Make sure you check that out as well. Subscribe on our Giants official podcast network platform to those podcasts, also the Big Blue Kickoff live feed, and of course stay tuned to Giants.com, the Giants app, Giants YouTube channel for our live coverage of the draft coming up tomorrow night when the Giants go on the clock. For Matthew Citak, I'm John Schmeelk. We'll see you next time.